Well, welcome to tea time for the catch up today. I'm in my comfy gaming chair. It's actually not mine, it's Adam's. And for today's tea, I have my Frank Green cup. And today we're having, can't touch the bottom. Today we're having some lemongrass and ginger. So let's get that started. I just love lemongrass and ginger. It's such a nice flavor combo and it's just really delicate and it's just super nice. So for today's tea time catch up, I thought I would talk about interviews because I know so many of you guys out there are job hunting, applying for jobs. You guys are putting in your resumes and some of you might be getting interviews, which is awesome. So congratulations. Getting over that line of actually like applying, key selection criteria, cover letter, CV, all that stuff. Super daunting, but congrats because you got the phone call and now you got an interview. So I guess the big thing is for interviews is just, if I could give you one piece of advice, it's just to be yourself. Interviews is something that's just going to pop up constantly throughout your time and throughout your career as a teacher. Make sure this is open so I can have a sip. Oh, it was hot. I've got to let it sit for a bit. Anyway, so seriously, interviews are just going to pop up all the time. The way a lot of teaching careers, or contracts, I should say, work, not careers, the way a lot of contracts work is that at the start, there'll be 1-year contracts, and then eventually, you might get a family leave position come up, or you might get an ongoing position come up at the school that you're at, which is awesome. But it just means that you have to continually reapply and continually interview. So if you are super, super lucky and you only have to have one interview and then that's your school and you don't have to apply again, that is fantastic. That is awesome. That's the dream, guys. That is the dream. But realistically, sometimes you don't end up always working for the rest of your career at the same school, which means you have more applications and more interviews. So don't think that, the world is going to end if you don't get one of these jobs. I'm not saying you won't, because I'm sure you're amazing. You're a teacher. You want to be a teacher if you're a graduate. But my biggest piece of advice for interviews is just to be yourself. So before teaching, I used to be in marketing, and I actually was on a lot of hiring committees. I went through a lot of CVs and resumes and stuff like that. And although teaching is slightly different because obviously you're looking for different things and you've got key selection criteria and all that sort of stuff, the interviews are basically the same. As someone who's been on a hiring committee, what you're looking for is someone who is authentic, someone who is being themselves, someone who's natural. Every single person, you expect them to have some level of nervousness. So don't panic. If you are nervous, that is very normal. Do not stress, because we've all been in that boat before. And trust me, whoever is interviewing you, they're going to know that as well. One thing you can do to calm those nerves is just to take some deep breaths. You don't have to look like you're panicking and stuff like that and out of breath and everything, but just, it's okay in the interview to say, oh, can I have a minute just to think about that response? Because it's so much better if you have a candidate who asks just for a minute to think about, the response to the question and gives a really honest, thoughtful response. That's fantastic. That's awesome, because that's showing you as someone in the hiring committee that they are taking the time to really care about their response. They want to give the best answer they can. And so that's fantastic. Don't fake your way through an interview. Let me see if my tea's fine now. Hope you have a cup of tea or coffee. But yeah, just don't fake anything, because if you fake something, a lot of the time, people on the selection committee can actually tell. And, the references are there to be contacted for a reason. So if anything pops up and is a bit of a flag, they're going to be asked. And, it's just really important to be honest, because teaching is one of those careers. In a school, you work so closely with people. You get to really, really know them. It's not like a some office jobs where you have your own little cubicle and that's it. Like, you really share life with these people, you connect with these people, and you really form close friendships and bonds with them and stuff, because you do life together. Really, it's such a big job, and it takes a lot out of you. There are days when it's exhausting, and definitely the pros outweigh the cons. It is the most rewarding job because it's not about money. It's about inspiring your students to be all that they can be. But you really need to be honest and wear your heart on your sleeve. And it doesn't mean you have to tell them everything about you, but it just, you want to really make sure that the person that they're getting from the interview, that they're seeing in the interview, is the real you. You don't have to be perfect at everything. And if something comes up in an interview that, you might not necessarily be great at, or they have one of those questions which is like, tell me, what is one of your biggest weaknesses? I never like that question, but it's good to do because it helps you kind of understand where people, like, what they think of themselves, and if they can analyze themselves, because part of teaching is a lot of reflection on your own practice. And because you're kind of like your own entity in your own classroom and stuff, you really need to be able to do all those different things. So turn that negative into a positive. If you ever have anything that pops up, and they ask you a question about robotics or something, and in your mind you're like, I've never done robotics, I don't know what they're talking about. You could say, look, I've never actually, I haven't had the chance to be a part of robotics or a robotics program in my placement or my, voluntary work or anything, but it's an area that really interests me, and I would love to have a chat with, the teacher in charge, or I'd love to be a part of some of the lessons and really get an understanding of that, because I think, I have these skills, and I think that would actually lend really well towards, your robotics program. So that just shows that you've taken that negative and turned it into a positive, and that you're showing that you're willing to step out, to learn, to grow. Because at the end of the day, that's what principals want. Like, they want someone who's willing to learn and grow and develop. And first and foremost, every single person in a hiring committee, yes, they're looking for someone to fill a specific position, but they're really looking for someone who is, as I said, willing to grow, willing to learn, but someone who's going to fit into the culture of that school. So when you go into the interview, just remember that. So be authentic, be honest. Think about the school themselves. You might have done a CV and ages ago you might have researched the school, but before the interview, go back onto their website, or if you can, depending on COVID and everything and where you live, have a walk through the school, and just remember that, you want to show that you've taken that extra step to get to know the school, to get to know them, to have a look at the programs that make them special as a school, maybe their achievements and stuff like that. And I think my last piece of advice is, make sure that you take the time to see if there's anything that you really want to find out in that interview, because that interview is not just, and whether it's a marketing or business interview, any sort of interview, any interview you have, just remember that you are trying to find out if you fit their culture just as much as, you would fit theirs. I think I said that right. So you want to make sure that their school is the right fit for you, and vice versa, that's what they're doing for you. So, if you have questions about the school, questions about the programs, it's not a grilling session. So just keep that in mind too. But you can ask at the end, if they say, oh, is there anything else you'd like to add? Feel free to ask them some questions. And the other thing is, like, when I had one of my interviews that I had a really great presentation of some of the work that I'd done. And I really wanted them to see that, because I felt like it really showed a piece of me that I couldn't verbally show as well. Like, I wanted to have a visual, and I wanted them to really see what I did in the classroom during my time in the classroom. So I said, at the end, would it be possible? I've got my iPad here. Could I quickly just show you something and some of the work that I've done? And they said it was fine, which is great, because then I was able to show exactly, what I wanted to show. So have that goal, and you might not necessarily get the time depending on how packed they are in their schedule and everything, but at least you've gone to the trouble to try and include all those different elements that you wanted to. Be polite about it. I was just wondering, could I ask a couple of questions? This is at the end. Is it possible to ask you guys a couple of questions just so I can better understand the position or what you are as a school, what you do as a school? That would be fantastic. Just some things that popped up when I was looking at your website. If they say no, that's fine. Not a problem. Shake hands, say thank you so much for the opportunity, and you just keep going. So just remember that. So be honest. Take a deep breath if you're nervous, and don't forget to have a little bit of time. Ask for a moment just to answer a question. Turn negatives into positives. Wear your heart on your sleeve and be authentic, and have a goal in mind if there's anything that you want to show them or any questions that you have. And, do it politely. Always have that professional undertone. Dress the part, people. Dress the part. So always dress really, really nicely. Get there early. If you're worried about traffic, sit in the car for a few minutes, go online, look at Facebook, do whatever. Look at our blog. You could do that. But just get there early. Don't be late. Whatever you do, don't be late. And no interview is a waste as well. Whatever interview you have, as we said at the start, every interview that you have is going to build you up and help those interview skills grow, and you'll get more comfortable doing it. But it's not a waste, because that first interview that you ever have will be so nerve-wracking, and then the next one you have, you'll be a little bit more understanding of what the process is. You can always Google teaching interview questions. That's always a great thing to do, and get someone at home to ask you, because then it's still randomized. But no interview is a waste. No job application is a waste. And if you have that passion for teaching, which I know you have, I know you're going to be an amazing teacher one day, and you will get there. I know so many people who haven't got their first, second, third interviews, and they end up getting the next one, and it ends up being the better school, honestly, that they didn't even expect. But they look back and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy I didn't end up at that school. So it turns you into a stronger teacher, a better teacher, and it helps to refine those skills and just develop you. And most of all, you get to share your experiences with someone else who might be having their first interview, and they might be super nervous, and then you can share life with them and help guide them through it. So anyway, let's see if my tea is ready. It's perfect. All right, well, I'm going to have my tea. I've got some more work to do, but I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Thanks for tuning into Tea Time today. Have a good one, from one teacher to another. Bye, guys.